Welcome back to the True Crime Lounge podcast here on Spotify and YouTube. My name is Breezy, and today we are going to be talking about a theory about the case of Lana Turner. Before I get started, I do have a Patreon that you can join as well. I also have a merch shop for all your true crime gear, and for any updates on my podcast or channel, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. With all that being said, let's dive into the reason you clicked on today's episode, shall we? As I said, today we're going to be talking about the case of Cheryl Crane and Lana Turner and whether or not Cheryl took the blame for her mom in 1958. So in 1958, actress Lana Turner's only daughter, 14-year-old Cheryl Crane, stabbed and killed Turner's boyfriend, a mobster whose name was Johnny Stompanato, in order to save her life. So does this sound familiar? Yeah, it kind of does. It's kind of like the original Dirty John. So, claiming that she defended her mom, who Stampino had threatened to kill, Claire was exonerated by a verdict or justifiable homicide. Though some have suspected that she simply took the blame for her mom, Lana Turner nonetheless bore the brunt of the scandal when she rocked a mid-century Hollywood. For the earliest years, she, shy and unassuming, Cheryl Crane was the object of media attention. She was the only child of Lana, and one of the most recognizable sex symbols of Hollywood's golden age. Crane was surrounded by scandal from birth, whether it was the questionable antics of the film industry's power players or her mom's many publicized love affairs. Then on one spring night in 1958, one of those love affairs came to an abrupt, bloody end for Turner's boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, and then launched Cheryl Crane into a very fraught spotlight. Cheryl was born on July 25th, 1943. She's a Leo, just like me. Um, to Lana Turner and B actor Steve Crane. Her parents were told that only a short time before Cheryl was conceived, that Crane neglected to mention that he hadn't divorced his wife at the time of his marriage to Turner. And soon after her first birthday, Turner and Steve, who described as living with a movie star, as being like life in a goldfish bowl, divorced for good. Reflecting upon her parents, she would describe the feeling as being enthralled by him, but she lived at a distance, their princess in the tower. Turner sent her daughter to the best private schools in LA and was delighted in posing as a glamorous yet doting mother. Even so, she recalled that I knew never to touch pretty mommy, her hair, her makeup, and her dress. If Crane came close for a hug and kiss, her mother would warn her. The hair, sweetheart, the lipstick. So how would she meet this notorious mobster? Well, despite her mother's distance and commitment to her career, Cheryl Crane was devoted to her. And the girl witnessed Turner bring home a string of quote uncles unquote A-listers Tyrone Power and Frank Sinatra, industrial Howard Hughes, and socialite Bob Topping, to whom she was married for just under 4 years. Next came the Tarzan actor Lex Barker, whom Shell later would claim that he molested and raped her throughout her 3 years of marriage to Turner. When she reported this to her mom in 1957, her mom allegedly nearly shot Barker in the bedroom of their home. Later that year, a small-time mobster by the name of Johnny Stompanato, a low-level associate of the LA boss Mickey Cohen, began pursuing Turner's persistently. And when Turner informed her that she met a very nice gentleman and who had a horse, Crane decided that she liked the guy before she even met him. Turner reluctantly allowed him into her life, and Crane soon came to see him as a good friend. He allowed her to ride he allowed her to ride a horse, give her a part-time job at one of his front companies, and she acted as her confidant, all while taking care to avoid giving anyone the impression of any inappropriate behavior. Now, what about the killing of Johnny? Well, on the evening of April 4th, 1958, the 14-year-old would fatally stab him at her mom's rental house in Beverly Hills. Um, Stampino was also an ex-Marine and affiliate of Cohen crime family, and had been a long-year relationship with Turner, which had been rocky and marked with physical abuse. Crane and Turner tur- that alleged that the former had stabbed Johnny in the stomach with Turner when was ushering him to the bedroom during a violent argument. Crane had heard the fight and armed herself with a kitchen knife, planning to defend her mom after Crane turned herself in to the police the next following morning on April 5th. She was interned in a juvenile hall. A coroner's inquest was held on April 11th, and during which the homicide deemed justifiable and Crane was exonerated of any wrongdoing. She was released in late April and placed under the guardianship of her grandmother. Public response to the case was divisive, and numerous press outlets published articles criticizing Turner and liking her testimony during the inquest of the performance. Though Crane was clear of any wrongdoing, Johnny's ex-wife filed a wrongful death lawsuit in 1958 before, on behalf of her and her son, the son she had, against Crane. Her father Stephen Crane, in turn asking for $750,000 in damages. The lawsuit was settled out of court in 1962 with a sum of $20,000. In her intervening years, Johnny's homicide had been the subject of many conspiracy theories that Turner had in fact stabbed him and that Crane had um, taken the blame to protect her. Though Crane has denied this, Johnny's killing have been depicted in various media. The inspiration of the novel Where Love Is Gone in 1962. And in 2007, Time magazine deemed this case the most notorious crimes of the 20th century. Let's dive into a little bit of background, shall we? So, while filming the romantic comedy A Lady Takes the Flower in the spring of 1957, Lana would be receiving phone calls and flowers on the set from the mobster and ex-Marine using the name John Steele. Turner claimed that she was unsure how he obtained her phone number and that she learned in later press that he allegedly collected the phone numbers of various Hollywood actresses, including June Allison, Anika Ekberg, Zaza Gaber. Johnny also pursued Turner aggressively, sending her various lavish gifts. Those intrigued at her forthrightness, Turner began casually dating Johnny. Unbeknownst at the time, Johnny had close ties to the LA underworld and was also an associate of the gangster Mickey Cohen. Over the next months, Turner and Johnny carried out their relationship filled with violent arguments, physical abuse that was inflicted upon her by him, and repeatedly reconciliations. Sounds like a red flag, walking red flag to me. Turner claimed that on more than one occasion, Johnny drugged her and took her nude photographs while she was unconscious, potentially using them as blackmail. In September 1957, while Turner was filming another place in London. He disrupted the production, violently choked her before being forced off the set by her co-star Sean Connery. Turner phoned Scotland Yard after the incident and ultimately had him deported from the UK. They reconciled again and spent January and February in 1958 vacationing in Acapulco before returning to the States. In March 1958, Turner attended the Academy Awards to observe her nomination for Peyton Place in the presence of the award-winning best and for the award of the Best Supporting Actress. Johnny, was very angry that she attended the ceremony without him and assaulted her when she arrived home. At approximately 8 o'clock p.m. on April 4th, 8 days after the Academy Awards, Johnny arrived at the rented home in Beverly Hills, which she had been leasing a week prior. The two began arguing heatedly in the bedroom, and during the argument, Johnny had threatened to kill Turner, her daughter, and her mother, as making as well as making gangster threats that involved breaking Turner's bones and slashing her face with a slight razor. Turner's daughter had briefly entered the room during the argument, but was by Turner to stay out of it. In the midst of this argument, Turner broke off the relationship, and Johnny asked him to leave, and asked Johnny to leave. So, fearing that Turner's life was in danger, was Cheryl had been watching TV in the adjacent room, grabbed a kitchen knife, and ran to her mom's defense. She would recall in 2012 that there was a knife on the counter, that she picked it up and ran up the stairs. The door opened and flies open, and I see Johnny standing there. He got his hand up, I raised the knife, and he walked around it. And he looked at me and said, "My gosh, Cheryl, what have you done?" Turner corroborated this, stating that Crane had been listening to the couple's fight behind the door, stabbed Johnny in the stomach, and when Turner attempted to usher him out of the bedroom, Turner initially believed Cheryl had punched him, but realized that she had stabbed him, and he collapsed and saw blood on his shirt. For official police accounts, Crane left the bedroom, placing the knife in a small marble top on the counter, and rushed to the phone by her father, Joseph Stephen Crane. Meanwhile, Turner called the doctor, who had arrived at the house shortly after. The doctor attempted to revive Johnny with adrenaline injections and artificial respirator. Unable to get a pulse, the doctors called for emergency services, therefore notifying the police, and Johnny was pronounced dead at the scene. As the autopsy conducted by Charles Langhoster shortly after revealed Johnny's death was caused by a single knife wound that penetrated his liver, portal vein, and aorta, resulting in him in a massive internal hemorrhaging. The police chief at the time, Clinton Anderson, who had arrived at Turner's house shortly before the emergency medical, stated that Turner had pleaded to him. "Please save me. Please," Turner pleaded to him. "Please let me say I did it," after Crane had confessed to stabbing her to her father. Um, she, who had also arrived at the house within 1 hour of the homicide, Turner and her ex-husband retained attorney Jerry Geiser to represent their daughter. In the mornings of April 5th, Crane was surrendered to the Beverly Hills Police Department, where she was booked on a holding charge. There she was given a formal statement to Chief Anderson detailing her hearing their argument, his threats against her mom, and her stabbing him in the bedroom doorway. After Crane had provided the statement, Turner, Stephen, and Geiser left the station, and at the station house at the insistence of the police department, where they gathered likely vultures out were gathered already by vultures outside. In the interim, proceeding to legal proceedings, Crane was interned in the juvenile hall. Why don't we move on to the legal proceedings now? Stephen Crane, Stephen Crane, Lana Turner, and Mildred Turner would attend a pre-detention hearing on April 8th, 1958. Here we go. So, the the hearing was held under Judge Donald Nobel, closed to the public, in which it was attended by Turner, her mom Mildred, and ex-husband Stephen. The same day, Turner attempted to file an application for Crane to be released into custody of Mildred. Crane's grandma, Turner's application was denied. However, the judge felt that Crane would be better protected by the remaining in custody pending the hearing for Johnny's murder. A follow-up with the juvenile detention hearing was scheduled for April 24th in Santa Monica. Sorry, y'all. I have not been sleeping well. To determine whether Crane permanently remained a ward of the juvenile state court. During the ruling, it was noted that Crane took the decision without any show of emotion. Upon her dismissal, she was again relocated to the Juvenile Detention Center for further pleadings. Simultaneously to this pre-detention ruling, numerous love letters between Johnny and Turner were published to the press. A coroner would do an inquest. And due to Turner's high-profile case, the fact of the killing involved her teenage daughter, the case quickly became a public cause. Over 100 reporters and journalists attended the April 11th, 1958 coroner's inquest, described as attendees as a notorious Cohen. Johnny's friend and associate was called as the first witness, but refused to testify, as he felt he would be implicated for the crime, and also refused to identify Johnny's body in the photographs. When Johnny was questioned, Stephen, a speculator and a friend of Johnny, interrupted the proceedings by screaming, "I want to testify." He went on to claim that Crane killed Johnny in a lover's quarrel because she was infatuated with him, and that she was jealous of her mom. The request to testify on the stand was denied by a judge, and the second witness, Beverly Hills Police Clinton Anderson, testified that he was satisfied with Crane's confession to the killing, and Joseph B. Bain, a Beverly Hills police officer who was dispatched to the residence, also testified on the stand. Payne recounted the arrival at Johnny's home that night. At Johnny's home, Lana's home that night. Well, he when he where he met where he was met by Stephen, who had placed a call to the police himself. Additional testimony provided by Crane that in her grandmother, Stephen testified that he had received a frantic phone call from Cheryl the night of the stabbing and quickly drove to Turner's home. Mildred, whose own husband was murdered in 1930, also briefly took the stand, but was so visibly upset when she was excused from the further testimony. Beverly Hills Police Captain Ray Burders provided testimony regarding Crane's official statement given at the Beverly Hills station. Several law enforcement, as well as Turner, Stephen, and Geyser, were present, and Borders attested to the version of the events told that was consistently repeated. Cheryl herself did not attend the inquest. In absence, a written statement was read aloud. Despite the testimony from others, a report in the inquest of the Philadelphia Inquirer and Turner's of the highlight of the circus life reading. When Turner took the stand, a hush fell over the crowd. A famous actress sat over, removed one glove, filled her lungs, and took a deep breath and began to take air. She began her testimony by recounting the shopping trip she had taken with Johnny around 2 p.m. on the day of the death. Culminating the argument between them was around 8 p.m. that night. Recalling the moment that Cheryl stabbed him, she would state that I was walking toward the bedroom door and he was right behind me. I opened the door and my daughter came in. I swear it was so fast. I thought she had hit him in the stomach. The best I can remember is that it came 2 days they parted, but she never saw the blade. After 4 hours of testimony and approximately 25 minutes of deliberation, the coroner's jury deemed Johnny's killing a justifiable homicide, and Crane would not be prosecuted. Crane remained temporarily in the court until April 24th, when a juvenile court hearing was held, and presiding Judge TCL expressed concerns over her receiving proper parental supervision. And this hearing, unlike the coroner's inquest, was closed to the public. And Crane was ultimately released to take care of Mildred, and was ordered to regularly visit a psychiatrist along with her parents. Now let's talk about the aftermath. Immediately after her exoneration, her father told the reporters in the LA Times that he planned to fight Turner for full custody of his daughter. Their daughter. Though Turner and her daughter were cleared of any wrongdoing, the public opinion of the trial was varied. And the day of Crane's exoneration, the Times published a scathing article stating that Turner possessed a lack of almost any reference to moral sensitivity in presence of a child. As I mentioned earlier, a wrongful death lawsuit was filed. Johnny's brothers, who attended the inquest, alleged that afterwards he felt Turner failed to tell the whole truth and made up their mind that Johnny deserved to die. Johnny's ex-wife Sarah filed a wrongful death of $750,000 in damages against both Turner, Cheryl, and Stephen, on behalf of herself and then the seven-year-old John Jr. In the suit, it was implied that Turner was responsible for stabbing Johnny and that her daughter had taken the blame. It also alleged that Stephen arrived at Turner's residence prior to Johnny's death and failed to summon the proper medical assistance. Depositions were done in June 1958, and the attorney oversight the case presented evidence suggesting that he had been stabbed while laying down. Now, there have been many legacy and conspiracy theories on this. His homicide had an enduring presence in the true crime popular culture and mythology, and was one of the most known crimes of the century. Um, Film historian Sam Staggs noted that it belongs to the same pantheon of foul deeds in the Fatty Arbuckle rape trial in 1921, the ambiguous death of Marilyn Monroe in 1962, and the O.J. Simpson case in 1994 and 1995. In the intervening years, Johnny's homicide had been subject to an oft-repeated conspiracy theory that Turner, in fact, killed him, and Crane had taken the blame for her mom claim. Alright. In 1992, a novel by Harold Robbins entitled Where Love Is Gone was inspired by this death. Now, as far as Lana and Shell are concerned, they remain close over the years after this. But that is it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a happy Easter and a good day.